YouTube Ozek going the Goat House is back with some more reactions to the NFL Top 100 Players of 2020 list. This is actually our second episode because NFL Network went from 100 to 71. I made a video on that, and now 70 to 41. So what we do here is we compare their ranks to my ranks. Very important here for everybody to know. At the end of the 2019 season, I made a top 100 that was based only on the 2019 season. That only. So that's where my rankings come from, and we get to compare. So pretty interesting stuff here. Some similarities to my list and their list. And a lot of differences, though. So we'll break it down here in just a second. We're going to keep on making these throughout the whole top 100 here. 60K, that's our subscriber goal by week 1 of the NFL. So please subscribe to our channel, turn notifications on. We got full coverage for the NFL season. Cannot wait for our prediction videos. Those are my favorite videos on the channel. And follow that Twitter for updates, constant NFL talk. A lot of players opting out, some cap adjustments. We're talking about all of it on Twitter, so it's a must follow. If you don't have a Twitter, make one. Would really appreciate it. And then check out our podcast there. Anything that you need there, any link that you need, down in the description and in the comments. Let's take a look at the rankings. And again, we had a video on 100 through 71. So if you haven't seen that, go check it out. One of the more recent videos. And on the left is NFL Network's graphics. It's their rankings voted by players. And on the right is my rankings. And again, very important, my rankings were based on the 2019 season alone. That is the only season my rankings were based on. And I do them every year right when the season ends. So Fred Warner, number 70 on the NFL Top 100 list. On mine, he was number 57. So I said that's close enough there. You know, obviously my rank's looking a little better for him or for 49ers fans or people that like Fred Warner. Very good in coverage. What stood out to me, very rangy. You know, you've seen him on against teams that were very good at beating teams on outside runs. That's where he made his money, I thought. You know, because those are pretty tough. You need a very rangy linebacker that can get out there and avoid blocks. And it's interesting because that was kind of the question with him coming out of college. It was, I guess, the strength. And, yeah, can he get off blocks? And he's too much of a motor and too much athleticism to get blocked, it seems like at times. Larry Fitzgerald came in at 69. Big Larry fan, but I did not have him ranked. It seems like NFL Network or this list voted by players went crazy with receivers. I guess offensive skill positions, quarterbacks, running backs, receivers. Half of this episode was those types of players, those players from those positions. They went crazy with receivers. There is a chunk of receivers last year that were about the same. It's tough splitting them up. They're very solid receivers, but there was a big chunk of them. And it looks like NFL Network's list is going to have all of them in there. And, you know, I couldn't squeeze all those guys in there, so you had to leave some out because some, you know, there wasn't really some that deserved to be in, others not, or, you know, so it was tough for me to put all. So I didn't go crazy with the receivers. NFL Network's list did, actually. So did not have Larry ranked. They had him at 69. Ryan Tannehill, they had at 68. I had at 76. I mentioned it when I do my video at the end of each season. 100 seems like a big number, but it's really not when you're ranking. You know, when you're trying to rank the best 100 best players, you know, there's well over 100 good players that are deserving. You know, it's weird. It sounds weird that there's more than 100 players deserving of a top 100. You know, it's crazy, but it's a fact. Right? If you're going to sit down and make the list, so sometimes, you know, if a player misses games, doesn't play a certain amount of games, that's enough for me to leave him off the list. What's like barely splitting up another player and him. But Tannehill actually didn't play for the beginning portion of the season and still makes my list. So that's how good he was, you know, down the stretch and how important he was to getting the Titans take that next step and then getting them to the playoffs, getting them to the AFC Championship game. So pretty much in the ballpark there. They ranked him 68. I had 76. Demario Davis, a little bit of a difference here. He was ranked at 67 on the NFL Network list. I ranked him at 31. I actually thought he was the Saints' best defensive player, and that's tough with Cameron Jordan there. I thought Demario Davis was huge for the Saints. You know, that it helped his play last year, which his play every year seems to be solid, but his play last year helped the Saints, you know, defense. I felt like taking another step, you know, because they always been more of just the offensive team only, you know, solid defenses here and there. But, you know, making more of a name for the actual defense, I think Demario Davis, his play was responsible for that, I suppose. I thought he came out big in terms of the passing game and the running game in crucial situations. So I ranked him at 31. Laremy Tunsil, a guy that I expect to make this list going forward. I did not rank him, though. He did miss a few games, so that could be enough. It feels like the NFL Network list isn't really going crazy with the tackles. Apparently, I don't know if this is 100% accurate, but I've heard that Bakhtiari is the highest rated tackle. So that means they're kind of undervaluing tackles, which I disagree with, but they did have Tunsil in and I did not, so that was interesting. Tyler Lockett, they rank at 65. I rank at 98. He just made the list for me. Again, I didn't go crazy with the receivers because there's a good chunk of them that are about the same based on last year's production play. So Lockett just made the list. Thought he was just too important to that Seahawks team to kind of leave him off. They ranked him at 65, though. Harrison Smith at 64. This was interesting. They ranked Harrison Smith at 64 and then ranked Preston Smith at 63. I ranked those two guys right next to each other, 10 spots back. That is weird to me. That would have been absolutely wild if I had him 64, 63, but 10 spots off. Harrison Smith, I thought, had a little bit of an off year last year. Still good, obviously, made the top 100 players. Still very good, still very important to the Minnesota Vikings. I know he has better play in him. I actually thought Anthony Harris was the Vikings' better safety last year alone. Again, my rankings are on last year, 1 year only. I'll do the same thing at the end of every single year, like I did the previous year. And Harrison Smith in general, if I were to make a list, would be much higher than 74, based on last year's 74. Preston Smith, highly productive for the Packers, helped improve the edge rush presence of the Green Bay Packers, which was much needed for them. Very productive. Better than we all thought, I think, because he's always solid, but needed more of an actual pressure presence, and he got that. I think 63, 73, I mean, pretty close. So I think we're in agreement there. Bakhtiari, they ranked at 62. I ranked at 86. So we see two Packers in a row. I thought Bakhtiari, we talked about Harrison Smith, good year, but a little bit of an off year because you expect almost great. I think the same thing from Bakhtiari. I think a good year, obviously, so important to them. But you expect greatness from him. I don't know if we got that greatness last year. So similar thing there with Bakhtiari, but I still ranked him at 86. Jarvis Landry, they went crazy with his receivers. I like Jarvis Landry a lot, always have. Very solid receiver for them. I did not rank him, though. They ranked him at 61. They're just kind of giving these receivers and running backs and quarterbacks, just because they're more the exciting part of today's game. I guess the benefit of the doubt there and putting them in, it's interesting. I guess that's the tough part about doing the top 100 because you're comparing every single position with each other, every single player with each other. That's tough to do. So deciding which positions belong in, which ones are more important, I don't really try to play that game. I just put the 100 players that I thought stood out the most to me. They went crazy with the offensive skill positions, though. Next, we got Logan Ryan, who is actually a free agent right now, but last year at Tennessee Titans I thought was the best slot corner in football. He did a lot for them. It was more than just, you think corner, you think coverage. You think, slot corner, covering some tight ends, covering the guys that line up in the slot receivers more importantly. And he did that well, but what he was able to do, other than that, I think they used him a lot in, spying or containing. We saw that in the Ravens playoff game quite a bit. So I thought he was pretty important to them. Did not re-sign him. He's asking for a bit of money, and they got some good replacements, perhaps. But yeah, I actually surprised to see him at number 60 on their list. Just because I don't know if I really expected it. I expected it to be one of the guys that they wouldn't rank that I did. I don't know why really. Maybe because he's a slot corner, but they actually ranked him 15 spots higher than me. So interesting. So I got 75. Odell, I didn't rank. He's in that big chunk of receivers that are basically in the same area that I kind of just left off here, but they ranked at 59. Not really surprised. Kirk Cousins really stepped up last year, really improved compared to the year before, and they ranked him at 58. I did not rank him. It's interesting because I didn't use a lot of quarterbacks because they're quarterbacks. I just, regardless of position, the top 100 players, that's the way I looked at it. But if you're going to because quarterback is the most important position. If you're going to value it like that and you're going to throw that many quarterbacks in there, then I suppose some of these guys do belong. But I did not rank him, and he's all the way up at 58. Devonta Adams, 57. Mine was based on, again, last year by itself. he was kind of in that group of receivers that just missed the cut, and he missed about 4 games last year, so that was kind of the deciding factor. And again, my rankings are based on that 1 year. In general, Devonta Adams definitely would be in, just like Odell and just like Stephon Diggs, who we'll talk about in a little bit. DeForest Buckner, they ranked at 56. I ranked at 35, so a little bit of a difference there. I got him up there at the big number there, 35, a good number. They're at 56. It's I guess it's tough ranking that entire defense line for the Niners. Obviously not with the Colts, but I thought he had a little more of an impact to be a little higher. Zach Martin, they ranked 55. I ranked 67, so definitely in the range. Stephon Diggs at 54. I did not rank him, but in general, he would make the list. I did the position rankings. I have him as number 5 receiver in all of football for this upcoming year. I think it'd be a big time for the Bills. Basically, why didn't he make the list? Again, with those receivers, there is so many of them that just missed the list that were in the same area. It would have been so tough for me to rank a few of them and leave others out when they're basically have the same season. I don't think the Vikings threw the ball enough. They really used their running backs a lot. But Diggs was huge for them, big time for them. He did have some fumbles, which I'm not worried about. Going forward, really, it's not like something he's a fumble-prone guy. He did have some fumbles last year, so maybe that was part of it as well. But in general, I think he's definitely a top 100 player. I had him number 5 receiver for this year. I'm excited to see him on the Bills. Marcus Peters, they ranked 53. I ranked 29. As soon as he went to the Ravens, he was lights out, and that's a big-time playmaker there, a guy that's gonna make his way to the ball and do more than that, really. So I ranked him pretty high. Big Marcus Peters guy here. Chris Jones, this was tough. 52 for them, 15 for me. I was absolutely shocked that he was, I was about to say below 50, but or higher than 50, but or lower, however you want to put it. He's at 52. But I'm surprised that he's anything worse than 20, really. This is a dominant player. It felt like that the league, the players knew that. This is the second best defense line behind Aaron Donald, and I don't know if there's much debating that. So I was shocked. I was shocked by this one. He made the list. Once we get through the whole list, do all these videos, we're gonna have the snubs list, guys that I had ranked that NFL Network did not. That's gonna be fun, but. What I'm getting to is there's going to be guys that have it worse than Chris Jones. I guess guys that definitely easily should have been ranked that aren't going to be. But still, 52 for Chris Jones. Ridiculous. Todd Gurley at 51. I did not have him ranked. They're going a little crazy with the running backs. 1 second people are talking about running back, the value position isn't much. And the next second, ranking all kinds of running backs in here. Gurley, didn't have a bad season. Maybe a little underwhelming. But I did not rank Todd Gurley. And this last page is down to 41. We have a lot of not ranked here, and I'm going to keep saying it because there's some people I think that just skim through, so it doesn't really help that I keep saying it. But I see people in the comments. My rankings are based on one season, 2019. That's why I did my top 100 right after 2019, so that probably would clear some things up for some people for what you see here. Darius Leonard, they ranked at 50. I ranked at 60. Good to see it. I think he's going to continue to easily climb. I expect to rank him well inside the top 50 after this season. I'll just say that. We'll never know, but I'm just going to say that. Amari Cooper, they ranked 49. I ranked 88. They were a little lenient with the receivers, I guess, and I wasn't. Maybe I was a little strict with it just because I keep mentioning it because there was a chunk of receivers that were about the same and they were borderline, so I kind of left them out. But I still ranked Cooper because he was outstanding for the Cowboys last year. I ranked him at 88. Za'darius Smith, they ranked at 48. I ranked at number 5. If you remember, my defensive player of the year, that was my vote, even though I don't actually get a vote. Za'Darius Smith was my pick. He was my pick for Defensive Player of the Year. I thought he was the most dominant defensive player. He's more than just an edge rusher, and that's what I've been preaching. And I love. If you actually watched, they asked him in the episode who is the best player at his position, and he basically replied, "What position are we talking about?" Because the guy plays all over. He makes the players around him better. He led the league and created sacks. He created 20 sacks for his teammates. 20. Ridiculous. And that was his first year at Green Bay. So he was my defensive player of the year. even though there were some really good ones, other ones that were possibly deserving, I didn't have to think much about that. So if this list, then they kind of contradict themselves. My problem every single year with this list, sometimes you feel like they're ranking it off of just past year, which I feel like they've hinted at, but then they go against that sometimes. They'll have guys that missed most of the year, were injured, or didn't play good that year. So it's kind of a mixture of things on their part. My rankings, my top 100 rankings right after the season were based on that season alone. So Za'Darius Smith was number 5 on that list. Tre'Davious White was at 47 for on this list, and I had him at number 26. Definitely one of the better corners on the year. Even though he kind of already broke out to make a name for himself, it was more of it was like a next tier breakout season where he really made that impact and really made a huge name for himself there. So I had him at 26 there, and I thought he kind of, even though he's got good safeties behind him, I thought he kind of carried the corner group a little bit. And then a bunch of not ranks. Dak Prescott, 46. I didn't rank him. I didn't go quarterback crazy. I didn't give bonus points because they play quarterback. Take away the meaning of the positions, just 100 best players that I saw on the field. So he didn't make it. Very, very productive. Very productive last year for Dak Prescott. He's heading in the right direction. Not making the playoffs, and then those big games down the stretch. I remember the Bears game. I'm not basing anything off of one game. I remember the Bears game was a must-win down the stretch, and Dak did not show up. And that might be generous the way I put that too. So I think he needed to get his team in the playoffs, maybe, and then I would have ranked him. That doesn't decide a quarterback whether he got him in the playoffs or not. But that was, when we're talking about even hundreds of guys that just missed the list, really, that's enough. That's enough. J.J. Watt, I think, missed too many games for me to put him on the list. In general, obviously would make the list. They put him at 45. Mark Ingram, I was very impressed with Mark Ingram last year. Was way better than I expected and was pretty key to them. I didn't go crazy with the running backs. So he was one that just missed the list. Jimmy Garoppolo, I didn't go crazy with the quarterbacks. He did lead his team in the Super Bowl, NFC champions. So you can understand it. There just wasn't enough there for me to put him in. Alvin Kamara, I thought, had an off year, but he was dealing with an injury. In general, he makes the list. If we're just talking 100 best players, regardless of the year, definitely makes the list. I didn't rank him. They rank him at 42. And the same exact thing applies to Jadeveon Clowney. He's a guy that definitely makes my list, in general, regardless of the year. Maybe going forward to this year if he's on a team and he made the list. He was definitely close to making mine, even though he was in and out of games, missed some time there. He was so impactful, and the game plan is definitely around him. And that shows how much of a talent he is. And I think on the big games for Seattle, the primetime games, he showed up big time. So for those reasons, he almost made the list. There was times where I guess it didn't matter too much in certain games. Game was over. They weren't playing for anything. He's either not on the field or he's not playing to the best of his ability. So maybe that was the reason he didn't make the list. But Clowney is a big-time football player, and he would make my list, in general. If we're talking just forget what year, just top 100. A lot of these guys would. A lot of these guys would. So that's, again, my rankings are based on, they was right at the end of 2019. It was based on that season alone. We got all my player ranking videos that are on the channel right now that came up recently. Those are basically predicting this upcoming season. So that's, if you're looking forward to that, something kind of new from me in terms of rankings. I just think it was a good idea to compare my top 100 that I recently did with theirs, because I feel like they're based on somewhat of a similar thing there. So let me know your thoughts. We're going to keep on doing this. Again, if you missed the 100 through 71, I have that video out as well where we compare. We're going to keep on doing this. They're kind of ripping these out, the NFL Network list. They're ripping them out, so I'd love to see that. We'll have the snubs at the end. We got all kinds of videos coming out. We got a lot of NFL news coming out with the opting out, so we're going to have to adjust power rankings, season predictions after that. So even though we're not in season, we got all kinds of content coming out. So hopefully you can join us for all that. Subscribe, smash that like button. That's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.